In the news tonight, apologies after being caught on camera illegally dumping. Government is working on a managed migration program. Technicians trained to maintain the electric buses. And coming up in sports, career best bowling figures by skipper Jason Holder puts the Windies in control of the first test.
Newsnight Headlines was brought to you compliments Omega XL.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom. Thanks for joining us. In our top story tonight, the two men who were seen in a now viral video illegally dumping along Drill Hall Beach have been disciplined by the authorities. This morning, 29-year-old Anthony Brathwaite and 23-year-old Ross Corbin returned to the site where they were served notice by health officials and forced to clean the area. Apart from cleaning the site, the men will be subjected to 5 days of community service, which involves a 2-kilometer beach cleanup from Pebbles Beach to Pier Head. The duo was also made to apologize publicly for the action.
My name is Anthony, and I've disrespected the island by what I've done, and this is not a usual behavior, but I was wrongfully assuming that this is where the stuff goes if I pick the limbs from these trees here. And the behavior that I pushed towards the lady, I really do want to apologize to her and the whole of Barbados, the whole world in fact.
I would just like to apologize for the illegal dumping that happened. It was unacceptable, and I would just like to apologize to the public for and never do it again.
Environment Minister Trevor Prescott was also present and stressed that the two men will face the same punishment. He also warned them and others that similar action will not be tolerated in the future.
I want these two young men of two different social backgrounds to understand clearly that as long as I am Minister of the Environment and anything like this occur again, this would not become any massaging or romanticize it. What we are doing here today is at least striking a compromise with you. But you're going to have to give a signal to the general public that you are showing some signs of remorse, and you're also going to send a signal to other persons who believe that they can act like this and continue to be engaged in activities, even commercial activities across the country with that kind of behavior.
As government looks to boost Barbados' population, officials are working on a long-term managed migration program. Prime Minister Mia Motley spoke about the plan earlier this afternoon during an interview on the British news channel Sky News with presenter Dermot Murnaghan. She says shortly after coming to office, the Barbados Labour Party administration formed a National Population Commission, which has now released its findings.
It has finally reported and has indicated that Barbados has not replaced its population since 1980. And to that extent, we're probably about 80,000 people less if we were just to keep our population constant. So we're going to do it in a managed way. In the UK and in particular Canada, you've found ways to do it in ways that do not compromise the integrity of the society or the integrity of the life and quality of life for your citizens. And we believe we can do the same.
During the interview, which focused on the Barbados 12-month Welcome Stamp initiative, Prime Minister Motley gave the assurance Barbados is well equipped to handle the program. She says the island has the necessary resources, including accommodation, workspace, and internet access.
There are options in terms of villas, there are options in terms of condominiums, there are options in terms of hotel rooms, and also houses for rent. There's also the ability for persons to be able to find workspace. We have Regis and other entities here that provide the workspace for those who want to work from here. And in terms of the broadband, we have two major telecommunications companies, and at the same time, we're looking to see how we can continue to boost our national television station and move it from being a broadcasting entity into a digital services firm, because as you know, broadcasting is not what it used to be.
And Prime Minister Motley is suggesting Barbados and the region can cooperate to implement common protocols on the climate crisis, as they've done to combat the threats posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. She shared the view during the Inter-American Development Bank's seminar series, Walking Together Toward the Future. The Prime Minister says not enough of the domestic policy of individual countries is being transitioned equally to map what they are calling for internationally.
Perhaps on the issue of vulnerability and resilience and all of the other things that are necessary for us to withstand the climate crisis, I think that is more that we can probably do at the domestic level. But there are some things that are beyond us, like the insurance issue and others that we've spoken about. And of course, the big issue is at what level does the world accept that it has to pull back? Is it at 1 degree? Is it at 1.5? It definitely can't be at 2, and even 1.5 compromises too many of us.
And Prime Minister Motley says it's heartening to see the threats posed by climate change have been brought to the fore, and the climate crisis is no longer seen as a fringe issue. 12 technicians have graduated from the Samuel Jackman Prescott Institute of Technology with the theoretical and practical skills to keep the new 33 electric buses running.
You might remember these 33 buses that came into the island yesterday. Well, now there's a set of technicians trained to maintain them once they're added to the Transport Board's rolling fleet. The 12 were exposed to 30 hours of training, during which time they learned the fundamentals for keeping the buses running. Transport Minister Dr. William Duguid addressed the graduation ceremony and said the training the technicians received during the course complements what is currently being done in the automotive industry. And he's convinced their new skills will contribute to the growth of the industry and, by extension, the island's economy.
SJPI showed that what they could offer by quickly developing a professional and very specific course designed for persons who will encounter electric vehicles within a routine maintenance situation. It covered the knowledge and skills required to work safely around electric vehicles, including those vehicles that may have sustained damage to their electric systems. We were assured that the course content would cover the theoretical knowledge of vehicle electrification as well as the practical skills required to service electric vehicles.
Robert Carrington is one of the graduates. He, along with several others, work in the Transport Board's Quality Assurance Department. Mr. Carrington acknowledges they are at the forefront of the new direction of fleet management and operations and says they are ready for the challenge.
We did both practical, theoretical training in safety and key components which make up high voltage systems, maintenance procedures, tools, and electronics. Pairing this experience with our existing skill set of the quality assurance team at Transport Board will make us better able to support the new electric bus fleet, given the new technology they are coming with.
SJPI Principal Ian Drakes says partnering with the Transport Board is part of the institution's plan to be positive disruptors in the education sector.
We are driven by the needs of the industries, the private and government sector, and we want that to be always understood. We as educators are led by these technologies. We are driven by these. These are the demands. These are what keeps our doors open.
Mr. Drakes says the SJPI is also working on plans to extend the training on electric vehicles to the region.
Given the predictions for this year's hurricane season and with the peak of the 2020 season weeks away, Minister of Home Affairs Edmund Hinkson is impressing on homeowners to consider home insurance. He says they should try to insure their homes.
Ensure them it's still not late to insure your houses because, while of course your precious personal items cannot be replaced. I mean, photographs that you may have of your children when they were babies, but still, insurance will entail that you will have a foot up to start again in the event that there is property loss as a result of adverse weather conditions.
Minister in the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance and MP for St. Lucie, Peter Phillips, says preventative measures continue following last year's flooding in the northern parish.
We looked at wells. We have done some work on the bridge at Derms, which has been which was damaged. The bridge in Pike Corner, which was also damaged during that flooding last year. That is being worked on right now. We've done clearing of some major water courses. I do recall the water course at Trent, there's one at Northumberland. A number of them have been cleared. We are still to work on the one at St. Clements and the one in Pickering. So a lot of work has been done, not only in St. Lucie, but we've done work in Barbados generally to assist us during the course of the hurricane, or any. As a matter of fact, it does not even at times have to be the hurricane season.
Mr. Phillips reminded Barbadians of the consequences of the acts of illegal and indiscriminate dumping, especially during heavy rain.
We want you to help us by not dumping your old beds, stoves, all sorts of garbage within waterways. As a matter of fact, not even just within the waterways, along the streets in themselves, because the streets will be dirty. When the rain comes, it picks up all those containers, those plastic bottles and everything, and it carries it wherever, and that as a result can block up drains and culverts and so on, and cause flooding to take place in various communities. So my simple appeal will be to Barbadians to help us in this cause as we prepare, as we're in the hurricane season.
Primary school students preparing for the Barbados Secondary Schools entrance examination have been challenged by the youth minister to take guidance from those who serve as positive role models. They're also being advised to respect the elderly in the community. Adrian Ford reminded the hundreds preparing for the 11+ exam, it is not the school that will determine their life.
Each one of you is responsible for making the school that you go to what it is. So in the same way that the school will have influence in terms of training and providing that needed support for you, you also have to form a partnership with that school. And when you put on that uniform, you are representing an entire school, an entire country.
Minister Ford, the MP for Christchurch West Central, was on hand at the Vauxhall Primary School, where he presented Class 4 students with required material needed for the upcoming test. During his pep talk, he impressed on the students to always give of their best.
You must try to do better every single time there is a challenge put before you. So if you're an athlete and you can run the 100 meters, like Usain Bolt in 9.56 seconds, try to do it in 9.4. Try to always better that last performance.
Scores of fans eager for the return of Q and a taste of the community spirit gathered outside in the CBC car park this afternoon. It was all part of CBC's community outreach effort to show that we are reopened and ready to play our part in rebuilding Barbados. It is being held in association with partners Banks, Zephyrins Bakeries, Grease Trap Man, Customization Center and Williams Industries. According to CBC's sales and marketing specialist Alicia Hinson, the highlight of today's event was the launch of the Banks Q karaoke competition. All protocols were observed for patrons entering the venue, including temperature checks, wearing of face masks and use of sanitizers, some of which were also on sale at the event. The community session takes place in the car park again next Thursday from 1 p.m. Now, here's a question for you. When last have you been to the market? In tonight's episode of This Is Who We Are, Shane Jones takes you with him on a Saturday morning trip.
We all know the song, Bridgetown Early Saturday Morning. That iconic piece penned by our cultural ambassador, the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter. It paints a picture of one of the most vibrant aspects of our culture. it's happened to us many times. Maybe it's a grandmother, your mother, or grandparent dressed us up a Saturday morning and headed off to the market to get some fresh produce. Well, we found some Barbadians who share their experiences of the market with us. From the time you enter the market, the colors jump out at you. The luscious greens of the okras, cucumbers and beans, the vibrant hues of the peppers, oranges, the squash, melons, and sweet potatoes. And of course, you know how good it smells.
I love shopping from the side of the morning, even if I don't want nothing. Once I could get a drop, I love shopping. You know, you meet friends. You may see somebody today, you don't see them tomorrow. So that's why I love to come out.
I like my fresh vegetables. I can choose what I want, and you get to know the folks that are reliable. So every Saturday morning I come down to the market after training, and I get my fresh vegetables to go with.
You see the children, how they smiling, singing, don't be no fool, don't play too cute, fill up your belly with love.
What was your memories of morning shopping and getting produce?
The excitement of getting fresh vegetables that no come straight up out of the land, because my parents were agriculture workers too, so I understand the sweetness or the goodness of having some fresh vegetables straight from the garden.
The camaraderie, coming to meet these people here is a joy, and the prices, some of them, I could tell you, the majority, they have good price on their produce. So I enjoy the market life. It's beautiful. These young men here, you can look at them, put it on them. All of those, all that who running. It's a joy to be in the market and having your fresh produce.
Apart from the veggies, the enticing smell of fish cakes wafts by. And if those don't get you, maybe the conkeys will. Check this out. You just can't beat having some juicy watermelon straight from your favorite vendor. No wonder some people see the market as a source of therapy.
For me, it's very therapeutic, actually. I come to the market because, well, one, I want to get fresh vegetables, and two, it's kind of a relaxing time where I get to go around and see what's on offer, see what the local farmers have produced. I just enjoy the entire experience.
If you want to maintain the non-communicable diseases, you go to the market. If you want to get rid of them, you will come here where you can buy your fruits and vegetables and still have a balanced diet.
Now, while comparing your prices or even weighing your produce, you're sure to hear a vendor's call.
Water cleansers, natural juices, coconut water. Get him juice, get him juice. When last you drink a golden apple?
I like to see how happy my customers are after they leave. I like to have them laughing, smiling, and I like the satisfaction when they realize my cucumbers, the squash, watermelons at $1.50 a pound. You know, when they are happy and satisfied when they leave, that is what I'm happy about.
So whether you're actually coming for fresh produce or you're coming to socialize, or you just want to be near to the sights and the smells of being in the market, one thing is for sure, our tradition of Saturday morning shopping is intact.
Thanks, Shane. And still to come, more reaction to the CCJ decision on a motion challenging a Guyana Court of Appeal ruling about the disputed March 2nd regional and general elections. Before we get to all of that, though, here is a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Do not wait until the imminent approach of a hurricane to insure your home and contents. Secure insurance coverage early this hurricane season. Cooperators General Insurance, helping you to be prepared this hurricane season.
Now that the Caribbean Court of Justice has ruled on Guyana's elections matter, the ball, President David Granger says, has been placed back into the courts of the Elections Commission. He says the commission is now expected to continue the process towards a final declaration with consideration to the massive electoral fraud uncovered during the polls. The attorney for Eslyn David, Mayor Robertson, says it is premature for anyone to bring out the champagne. NCN News reports.
We're extremely pleased that the court set aside the Court of Appeal decision, the Caribbean Court of Justice.
PPP General Secretary speaking during a media briefing after the Caribbean Court of Justice ruling. The General Secretary says he is pleased that the court has set aside the Chief Elections Officer's final report, which has disenfranchised 115,000 voters. Lowenfield had contended that this represented votes with irregularities.
So the CEO has clear guidance now. Let us see if he will continue to act unlawfully or in accordance with the guidance of the Caribbean Court of Justice, a superior court.
Meanwhile, attorney for private citizen Eslyn David in the case, Mayor Robertson, expressed disappointment that the CCJ took jurisdiction over the matter. He said it is still too soon for anyone to celebrate.
The court invalidated the CEO's report that was submitted, I believe, on the 23rd of June. That is not inconsistent with its ruling because the CEO's report had said it was premised on the decision of the Court of Appeal. So if the court invalidated the decision of the Court of Appeal, then it would follow that the report that was based on the decision of the Court of Appeal would also be set aside. What the court did not do, the court did not interfere with the concept that valid votes must be the governing principle when the CEO prepares his report. Excellent. So the CEO has to go back and do a report. And the report has to be a tabulation of valid votes. And we will see what happens from there.
The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, says his country, with its 11% shares in cash-strapped regional airline Liat, will not be able to save the Liat 1974 brand or even the proposed Liat 2020.
The Prime Minister of Barbados said we have no more money to put into Liat 1974 limit. And they are approximately 50% shareholder. And they say we can't put it because it's too much for us to bear. We are on an IMF program, this is where we are. Now what do you do? With the best will in the world, Dominica, Antigua and St. Vincent can't carry it by themselves. I face the arithmetic.
It was also revealed that an institutional framework is being set up with a new multilateral air services agreement to be signed among CARICOM states. Prime Minister Gonsalves says the agreement is to be ratified among the bloc's members.
Need a seventh ratification, not signature, for the Massa Treaty to be operationalized, to make it easy for the airline registered in one place to move to come to another within the CARICOM region. A couple of governments who have not yet ratified, they gave the indication that they are going to swiftly ratify. They have certain legal requisites they have to follow through Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority. But they have the Air Licenses and Transport Board. These boards have to give the permission for you to fly into your own country, into the country, in an independent country. The MASA is intended to facilitate the easy entry and movement of the aircraft.
Well, we're also hearing tonight that Antigua and Barbuda's government is not budging from the view that Liat is still worthy to be saved. This position will be put before a planned shareholders meeting. Minister of Information Melford Nicholas says the restructuring of Liat should be the way.
In which case the determination as to whether or not Liat will consider the shareholders would consider the ultimate liquidation of Liat, or to consider the options of looking at the restructuring. I think from our own standpoint, the government of Antigua will present for consideration a restructured plan for Liat within the context of that meeting and to ask for consideration.
Mr. Nichols says a number of interest groups associated with Liat have been meeting, and the country's Prime Minister Gaston Brown has also met with workers.